Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be retesting The Last of Us Part 1 on the Steam Deck. So we got incremental updates, and today we have update 1.0.5. It was like a 48 gigabyte update, and it says reduce shader building times, which I tried. It's still long, but a little bit better. Better CPU performance. Okay, improved performance across many levels. There's now a new effects density setting that really helped, so I'm gonna be checking that out. Reduce VRAM impact on texture quality, so now textures won't look like muddy garbage, on medium at least. And many other fixes. The thing is, it's a bigger update, so I said, okay, it's time to give it another try, so let's jump into it. Okay guys, we're into the game. We're on 800p, which is Steam Deck's native resolution, but we're using FSR2 quality, which means we're at 536p. On the Steam Deck screen, it looks fine, at least in my experience. There's also a handy sharpening filter, which I highly recommend. Then, what else? Well, let's go to the other settings. In graphics, everything is on the lowest possible. We cannot change the texture quality for some weird reason, although I'm going to put 4 times anisotropic filtering. And we're going to keep medium texture sampling. The rest of the texture stuff, we cannot change it, so I'm guessing this is something they decided to tweak on their own. So everything on the lowest. Let's keep going down. Okay. And as I told you a moment ago, there's a new option for effects density. So we have very low now, and it affects the CPU and GPU. The main limitation here, also you can have less characters on screen, which is also pretty useful. Okay, so we applied the changes, we put yes, and let's jump into the game. Alright, welcome back, it's been a while. So I locked it to 30 frames per second to help the CPU not get trashed, basically. If you go with unlocked frame rates, it's going to be a nightmare, so bear with me. And we're going to go through multiple levels, so we can actually see what's up. When I streamed this game, it hard locked to 20, when I was looking into the distance inside this building. If I look back, it was like into the 20s. Although I can hear some audio crackling, not sure if it's my headphones. But now it's 30 frames per second, with the effects on very low. So drops into the 20s. But I mean, again, before it was into the 20s, basically all the time. 30s were nowhere to be found. Textures are not great, but they look better than before. On low, before it was, well... it was hilariously low resolution. I would say worse than the PlayStation 3 original. And again, quality FSR2, at least on the Steam Deck screen, looks fine. Okay, when I look in here, it still drops. Okay, I see that the GPU is suffering a bit. So let's do a quick change in settings. What I'm going to do now is use balanced FSR2 actually, because this seems to be a little much for the Steam Deck's GPU. So let's try balanced FSR2. By the way, I have a mouse and keyboard connected just for comfort. You can use the controllers on the Steam Deck just fine. Okay, a bit more performance. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, nice. So balanced FSR2 is my advice, my recommended settings. Looks soft. But again, on the 7-inch screen, it's better than nothing, I guess. And there's a sharpening filter. Alright. Yeah, this is so much better than on release. It's ridiculous. It took them more than 5 patches to get here. And I'm guessing it's just going to improve from here. So this is a good improvement. Very good, actually. I'm pretty impressed. Okay, so I'm going to swap levels. Give me a moment. Okay, now Bellstown. is more complex on the geometry, and there will be infected chasing after us. So as you can see, explosions. Oh man, my aim at 30 frames. So more complex environment, without a doubt. Here we get drops into the 20s at times. Yeah, this still requires a lot of work. The CPU is still suffering quite a bit. But again, it's a Steam Deck, so I cannot really complain. Still, it impresses me that they improved it in such a way that it went from the 20s on CPU demanding places like this. But again, balance FSR2. But the biggest issue was the CPU, because if we were locked by the CPU, nothing we could lower in the past gave us that 30 FPS mark. So I would say it matches the PS3's performance. From the 20s to the 30s, mid-20s actually. The thing with looking it up to 30 with the OS level... Okay, there's some artifacts here. No big deal. So it's actually playable now, in my opinion. As I was saying, I recommend you don't use the FPS log from here. You can allow tearing to make it a little bit less input laggy. So let's try that. So yeah, input lag is an issue. With allow tearing, not so much. So I recommend you use that with the 30 FPS cap. And it should be okay. And the textures, again, improve significantly, but some of the environment textures still look terrible. So that's pretty funny. Okay. Let's go a bit further. I skipped the cutscene, so it's a loading screen. Loading screens are not as long as either. They're less than a minute and a half, which was kind of impossible before. Nice, a shotgun.
I got something I gotta show you.
What you got?
New toy from the toy box.
And here is less demanding. We're indoors. So let's jump into another level. One of the first areas of the game, one of the first combats actually. As you can see when I look at this part of the map. Again, when the game first released, it was in the low 20s at all times. Now it drops below 30. Let me see if allow tearing did something here, because sometimes it's buggy for me. No, it wasn't allowed tearing. Gotcha. So yeah, this part is one of the ones that still needs work. But again, 28 instead of low 20s. That's a big improvement in my book. Although frame times are still not perfect, which makes sense. I mean, it's still a Steam Deck. So the CPU is still a limiting factor. But they made so many CPU improvements. It's kind of crazy. So it still needs work, but it's a big improvement. That's what I'm trying to convey to you with this video. Okay, my aim at 30 frames leaves a lot to be desired. But it's usually when looking into the distance here. What's funny is that a bigger area, where I had most issues, runs a lot better. But here it still drops below 30. That's pretty interesting. Still, miles ahead of what it was before. Okay, let's try another level. High five! Yeah, teamwork. Let's see, this is when you're getting to Tommy's Dam. Okay, well, looking into the distance, it's not bad. There's more foliage. Those water effects, which still unloaded still look pretty nice. And this part has lots of characters. And the rain.
I know, I am too.
Alright, next squirrel I see, I'm totally shooting it.
Let's get past this place, then we can...
But this area is pretty stable actually.
Nice start.
I was expecting worse performance here. Cool.
Should we head in?
Ain't no way around. Gonna have to cut through the plant.
Okay, let's skip the cinematic. This is going to probably trigger a loading screen. But again, I'm blown away by how much it improved. I wish they delayed this so it came out in a better state.
Alarm!
And
They're friendlies. We've been dealing
okay,
with
this part has lots of characters.
It's been quiet for a few days.
What the hell?
And I'm noticing that the CPU is noticing that.
Been trying to bring the plant back to life.
We had it working before, but one of the turbines went south.
We have electricity, Joel.
So yeah, you can notice the difference there.
We'll get it running
The
again.
GPU clock drops because the CPU from that 15 watt TDP that they are sharing
We got a whole lot of them.
needs to drop the GPU clock.
Sorry.
Hence the frame rate is dropping because they share that 15 watt TDP. So CPU works more, that leads to the GPU dropping clocks. Still, nice improvement in comparison to before. Okay,
Hey, thanks, Tommy.
No sweat.
so now let's do some combat and yeah, some more combat I would say. And the beginning of the game that is pretty demanding. Alright, so now I'm in one of the bigger parts. And by bigger I mean a more complex map, 2 floors in that building, multiple enemies on screen, and as you can see here, the GPU is actually suffering. So I would need to lower the resolution further.
All right, you heard it. Search the
So it's not only the CPU now, it's actually the GPU too. Interesting. So we'll probably need to use Performance FSR2, which will look even blurrier. So yeah, I don't have high hopes for this section. It's going to be difficult. I don't know how they're going to make it work on the Steam Deck. Because they said they wanted to improve things to be able to run it on the deck. But this area gives me no hope, actually. Let's see, once I get here... Ha! I can still do headshots though. But still, this area requires more GPU power actually. Interesting. So we're no longer 100% CPU bound like before. Yeah, when I get indoors it's fine, but when I'm out here... Yeah. So this area is way more challenging for the Steam Deck. So this would require... Let's try Performance FSR super quick. So we can check for real. So let's try Performance FSR. Let's see if it improves in any way. A tiny bit, actually. No, not great. Although there's audio stuttering as well. So that didn't help. We're also CPU limited then. Interesting. So more characters on screen will make the Steam Deck suffer. Let's go into another area. Now the very beginning of the game. This part is infamous for being CPU demanding. Even higher end CPUs were dropping below 60, so I think it's a good place to check it out. The new setting for people density of NPCs, is probably the reason why this area runs so much better. That plus the CPU improvements.
Don't look, Sarah.
And as you can see, it's basically 30 frames. Still some CPU related drops. But it's significantly better. Again, this part was locked in the low 20s before. Let's see it now. Yeah, here the CPU still suffers.
Get back! There's too many of
But yeah, after the car was done for and the characters disappear, it's back to 30.
Go!
So that cut down worked pretty well. I wanted to just check that out. Let's get into one more area. Thanks, Tommy. Okay, now in one of the city areas when Joel and Ellie get ambushed after Bill's town. Let me... On this part we're also CPU limited, as you can see. The GPU clock doesn't get to anywhere close what it should be. So another CPU limitation, unfortunately. Plus enemies on screen. Too bad.
Oh shit!
So yeah, this part is kind of a nightmare.
We'll get there.
So I'm guessing this is what they're going to patch afterwards. When we look into the distance, like that.
Checkpoint with no soldiers.
This is what most zones
But hey, still, I'm happy they're doing incremental improvements, but I still cannot recommend it. That's way too many drops. At least on the Steam Deck. I'll test it on my PCs later. I'm going to run away. Yeah, as you can see, when I'm engaging the enemies, it drops significantly. CPU related drops. Why? Again, GPU clock is below 1000 megahertz, so it should be at least at 1300. So it's a CPU limitation. So patch improved things, which is good, especially in the bigger open areas, but some areas such as these city locations are still CPU bound. But again, it's a Steam Deck, so I shouldn't be complaining, I guess. But still, incremental improvements are good after a few patches come out. This is 1.0.5, so I guess on 1.1 or 1.2 I'm going to revisit this and see what happens. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.